Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Very happy to see you all on this webinar. I will be sharing on this webinar mainly RSA new content, but I will start with overview, to put everybody on the same page. I will concentrate mainly on multi-cloud and hybrid environments and how they're represented right now in MDC with GA capabilities and with the new capabilities that we just released at RSA. I will be saving some time at the end to address your questions, as was mentioned. But please feel free to ask questions in the chat window, and my colleagues will do their best to address all the questions. The cloud security challenges that we are facing are evolving all the time. With the explosion of cloud usage and expedited shift of workloads to the cloud during the pandemic, the challenges with visibility on cloud security and compliance are growing exponentially. More and more businesses move their critical workloads into the clouds. According to research, 52% of the organizations cite security configuring of the cloud resources as their top priority. The average cost of breach in 2021 was above $4 million, and more organizations are adopting multi-cloud, and we see a shift from either single cloud or preferred cloud to a real multi-cloud environment, which brings new challenges to the cloud security world. Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a solution for cloud security posture management, CSPM, if you heard this term, and also for cloud workload protection, CWP. It finds weak spots across your cloud configuration, helps strengthen your overall security posture of your environment, and you can protect specific workloads, provide Defender for different workloads across all three major clouds. It supports multi-cloud and hybrid environments. You can also connect your on-prem environments using the Azure Arc capabilities. And we integrate with a range of products to enable seamless response and automation for your SecOps teams. Posture management in Microsoft Defender for Cloud starts with a bird's eye view that represents your current state by secure score that you can see now per environment. Cloud provider or per subscription account or project. Defender for Cloud provides view on vulnerabilities across all three major clouds, assess and implement best practices like Azure Security Benchmark or AWS Foundational Best Practices. You can use secure score controls to identify how your security posture should be improved or on what area you should focus. We also provide hundreds of out-of-box recommendations and assessments that are mapped to a business to the industry standards like CIS, PCI, NIST, and more. Actually, this is the area that we expanded during at RSA. And you create your own assessments and you create own initiatives that include either built-in ones or the custom assessment that you previously created. You can remediate the security recommendations whether by built-in quick fix options that are available in lots of built-in recommendations, or you can use a customized auto remediation by integrating with Azure Logic Apps. Multi-cloud resource inventory provides you a single view on monitored resources. It's a resource-centric view. You can use filtering here either by different properties of the resources that we discover, or you can use tags, for example. You can filter by security posture, recommendations, vulnerabilities, or by status of coverage, pricing, for example, or agent status. You can continue exploration either using Azure Resource Graph, ARG, which support KQL-like queries executed over this inventory, or you can also use an export option and take all this inventory into your other tools for further correlation. You can also manage your resources from this inventory page by assigning tags and later using these tags for business logic. Threat protection for all layers is provided by comprehensive sets of alerts mapped to MITRE ATT&CK framework. By the way, also the assessments, also the recommendations are mapped now to MITRE ATT&CK framework. We're using Microsoft Global Threat Intelligence. We're getting lots of signals from different sources, and we also use industry standards, standard vulnerability management, to provide sophisticated resources, specific alerts, and group them in incidents to make your life easier to understand where you need to focus also from the threat protection perspective. We continuously expand the resource types coverage that we support in MDC. Currently, you can see just a sample of what's supported. In addition to traditional and highly critical workloads like servers, containers, SQL, etc., we have a unique defender that also provides a service layer protection in Azure. Azure Resource Management is a great example of highly critical service that is traditionally difficult to protect because you have, the amounts of logs there are tremendous. And with Defender for Cloud, we analyze these logs and alert on any malicious activity to protect at the top level of your cloud service. By the way, we're also looking for similar capabilities that we can provide in other clouds on the service layer. So when you land in MDC, you usually start your journey in overview, where you get tiles that can take you to different capabilities inside MDC. Security posture, for example, represent your current secure score. You can see that we support now all three major clouds. You will get your overall secure score and then distribution of secure score per cloud, Azure, AWS, GCP, based on what was onboarded to MDC. Regulatory compliance mapping, again, we have expanded support for more regulatory compliance for AWS and for GCP at RSA. And you can also deep dive into workload protection and get understanding what's happening with your servers or Kubernetes or SQL and other workloads in all three major clouds. So how do you onboard to multi-cloud? You should go to environment and settings. And here you can see that I onboarded one subscription and 2 accounts and 2 GCP projects. You can go then and add environment. When you are adding environment, you will need to specify either details of the organization or project that you onboard in GCP, or account or master account in AWS. We will ask you what capability you would like to enable in this onboarding. For example, you can enable either just CSPM capabilities, which, by the way, come for free for all 3 clouds. You can get security posture management for free for Azure, AWS, and GCP. And you can also enable Microsoft Defender for servers or for containers or SQL, which was also added at RSA, on each one of these accounts or projects. And based on what you selected during the onboarding process, we will ask you to grant us permissions. For example, cloud security posture management part requires just read permissions, while in order to deploy Defender for servers, we will need some additional permissions that require to automatically provision agents on the servers. So once everything is onboarded and you have all your subscriptions, accounts, and projects connected and onboarded and enabled with relevant defenders, you can switch to recommendations. You will get a list of all assessments that we are running on your environment, and they're grouped to controls. You can use this view to understand what is the potential secure score change if you deal with each one of these controls or recommendations. the health status, the resource count, etc. When you open the control, you will get the recommendations themselves, and you will see what resources are relevant here, what's the status for each recommendation. And you can also go and filter. As you see now, we are fully supporting 3 major clouds, Azure, GCP, and AWS. Then you can go here and enable GCP, and then you will get just recommendations relevant to GCP. All these assessments, by the way, for both GCP and AWS are coming from regulatory compliance standards that we are supporting. And for example, here for GCP, they are coming from 4 standards that we support right now: CIS, PCI, NIST, and ISO. Then you can go to inventory, and here you will see resource-centric view. You are getting here a list of all resources that we assess and that we are able to protect. You can again here go and filter by environment, for example, again GCP, and then you will get all the GCP assets that we discovered during in the projects and organizations that you onboarded in environment settings. You can then click on each one of the resources and get a resource-specific view for recommendations and alerts on these items, on these assets. Another view for recommendations is regulatory compliance. Here you can enable built-in regulatory compliance standards like CIS, PCI, NIST, etc. And then you will get mapping of different recommendations or different assessments to controls that these frameworks provide, and you will be able to deal with them also from this screen. And going back to recommendations, let's try to deep dive and understand how we brought the multi-cloud support here. For example, you see the remediate vulnerabilities control here that includes recommendations to patch or fix, or fix vulnerabilities across different resource types. You can see here that we support VMs, containers, and when we go into one of them, which is the virtual machines, you can see the representation of all types of environments that we currently support. Then there is a on-prem machine which is connected using Azure Arc. It's unmanaged machine. It's a machine that's coming from some on-prem deployment, not from a cloud. Then you can support such deployments using Azure Arc. There is an Azure machine here, and there are 2 machines, GCP and AWS. It's EC2 coming from AWS and GCP compute instance that are also supported by this recommendation. Then how all this stuff is coming here, then for on-prem, as I mentioned, it's a deployment of Arc that you need to do by yourself. But for AWS and GCP, we actually made your life much easier once you enable servers bundle or containers bundle on your accounts or projects. There is an auto provisioning process that will discover the relevant machines, and then will deploy the Azure Arc Agent on top of it. And once Azure Arc Agent is deployed on EC2 or on Google Compute, it's represented inside Azure, and then regular auto provisioning for all the required agents, guest config, MMA, etc. Will just land on these machines, and they will be fully managed and fully covered by Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Okay, then now when we are on the same page on what we offer as a multi-cloud security solution, let's double click on what we just delivered at RSA. Then multi-cloud is an ongoing journey, and we are reading into our product as we bring new capabilities. And at RSA, we introduced a brand new built-in governance experience, which is currently in public preview, that works across Azure, AWS, and GCP. Successful governance strategy requires a combination of people, processes, and tools. Without the right tools in place, central security teams often experience challenges when driving the personnel within the organization on how to implement the security recommendations. The process can be painful. People can get frustrated, and the organization's security posture can suffer as a result of all these missing processes. As a first step in our governance journey, you can now set owners, and you can assign expected remediation timeframes to resolve security recommendations from Defender for Cloud. This capability helps security teams set accountability for recommendations, track their process, and drive resource owners to action with notification capabilities. Also, workload owners can focus on the specific recommendations that require their attention. Think about workload owner enters, and he now gets all the recommendations that are assigned to him and not all recommendations that he can see in the system. They also be able to delegate recommendations to others to set expectations for when the recommendations will be implemented. Because at the end, when you assign the owner a security team, sometimes the workload owner can delegate it to somebody else, and he also can communicate with the security team by telling them, yes, I understand what's the timeline that you want me to resolve it, but I can do this on specific date, and there is a way to set this up inside the system now using the governance capabilities. So let's see how it's represented in the system. Then first of all, this is the view of security team. You can see that we added the governance here. You can see how many overdue recommendations are there in the system and how many are unassigned. We also added the status here. On this status, you can see if the recommendation, or in this case, it's a control, if it's overdue or it's unassigned. And when you go deeper into another view, you can go and see what are owners that got recommendations assigned to them. For example, here I have three owners. You can then go and view the recommendations assigned to specific owners. By the way, when the workload owner opens the system, he will be able just to show me my recommendations, and then he will be able to concentrate on his own recommendations. And inside the recommendation view itself, we also added some capabilities, like we are showing now the owner of this specific recommendation. And it's important to understand, you are not the owner of recommendation, you're owner of assessment on a specific resource, because same recommendation, for example, to install patches or to resolve vulnerabilities on two different machines can be mapped to two different users, because usually the owner is set based on the resource owner rather than on the recommendation itself. Then here you will see who is the owner of this recommendation on this specific resource, what's the due date and what's the status. You can also change it from here. You can assign owner from here, or change the owner, or change the ETA. Another thing that we concentrated for RSA is uplifting our multi-cloud capabilities. Then most of onboarding was already GA'd in March, like AWS, onboarding of accounts and master accounts are in GA since March. And GCP project by project onboarding was in GA since March. What we GA'd right now is a capability to onboard GCP at scale, which means you can take a GCP organization, which is kind of parallel of Azure tenant or parallel of master account for AWS. And once you onboard the organization, once you onboard the organization, we will discover all the projects under this organization, and we will auto onboard them also to MDC. It is also relevant to all new projects that are created under this organization, which means that the most recommended way to enable MDC on AWS and GCP is to onboard the highest hierarchy, which is master account or organization in GCP case. And then we will also cover all the new created accounts or projects under this hierarchy. Another thing that was GA'd is JIT, just-in-time capabilities for AWS EC2 machines. It wasn't preview since, I think, since February. And we just announced GA for this capability now in AWS. We added additional regulatory compliance standards for GCP, and more than 40 new recommendations. We cover now not just CIS. We added PCI, NIST, and ISO. And we also enhanced the management experience for multi-cloud, aligning them with Azure capabilities. For example, now you can exempt multi-cloud resources and use its capabilities on assessments created for AWS and GCP, and not just for Azure, like it used to be until now. Another big thing that we brought in multi-cloud world is extending the databases bundle into AWS and GCP. You can now protect your SQL machines running on EC2, sorry, SQL instances running on EC2 machines and Google Compute. And it works in the same way like it's working for SQLs deployed on Azure VMs. This capability is now in GA for all three clouds. Another announcement that Microsoft did at RSA was around the CIEM capabilities. I'm sure that most of you are aware of CloudNox acquisition that happened almost a year ago, which was one of the leading CIEM providers. CIEM, it's a abbreviation for Cloud Identity Entitlement Management System. And this product provides you another layer of dealing with the permissions management and detection of least privilege concept. Like, think about if you assign too many permissions, too much permissions that are too broad to a user, and then CloudNox, or their new name, Microsoft Entra Permissions Management, can detect that a specific user his permissions can be removed or reduced from the resource. Then we announced the initial integration with their product, which is going to be GA at the end of this month. The integration right now enables you to see what's the creep index. This is the parallel of secure score in their world. There is something named permissions creep index, and they have it for every subscription, project, or account. Then at the first initial integration, we have added this tile here to enable you to see what's your coverage with the CIEM and what's the health status and what's the permissions creep index there. You can later click on this tile and you will be taken into CloudNox or into Microsoft Entra Permissions Management portal, where you will be able to manage your CIEM policies. We are going to invest more in this integration, and you can expect more at Ignite when we are going to bring more tight integrations and creating recommendations for least privilege assessments inside MDC. So to summarize, we are now in a position that we cover three main clouds: Microsoft Azure, AWS, and GCP, and we have a good coverage for on-prem using Azure Arc. You can secure and protect your resources in all three major clouds and in hybrid environments. We have a comprehensive coverage for regulatory compliance on all three clouds. You can go and check what's your PCI or CIS or NIST status in all these clouds. And we also detect vulnerabilities and threats across all three clouds and create alerts in case of suspicious or ongoing attack. So what I'm asking you to do after this webinar, if you still didn't do it, then those that still didn't enable Cloud Defender for Cloud, or you didn't try the Defender for Cloud for AWS and GCP, you should really give it a try. It's for free. It's not trial. CSPM for AWS, GCP, and Azure are free offerings. You can go and onboard your environments and get assessments for all these environments. I will also recommend you to go and select top 5 secure score recommendations and resolve them today. And you have secure score for both AWS and GCP, then go and do it. If you would like to review what we can do with a deeper workload protection, you can go and enable a trial for Defender for servers or Kubernetes or other workloads. You will have 30 days of this trial You can onboard more machines and containers, and you can see what capabilities you are getting in addition to assessments when you enable the Defender for Cloud for different workloads. So thank you for your participation in this webinar, and I'm open for questions now, if we have some unanswered questions in the chat.
Yeah, team's been great with answering the questions, but we do have a few we'd like to reiterate. First one is, how does the inventory of servers compare between MDC and M365 Security Center? Which should we use and when?
So it's interesting question. The inventory in the Defender for Cloud concentrates on the cloud resources like IaaS and PaaS and some SaaS. Think about the VMs, the containers, the storages running inside AWS, GCP, and Azure. M365 is more dealing with the productivity world. You will see there, maybe it's not my area, but I assume you will see there endpoints and Exchange and SharePoint and other services used by the end users in the productivity world.
Great, thank you. The next one is, if a server is ARC enabled with MDE, is there any reason to do anything in M365?
It's really up to you. It depends what's your main portal. If you are using MDC and that's your main portal, there is nothing special needs to be done there. But I think that there are customers that sometimes also using M365 portal to look into the endpoints, and sometimes they want to see the same events there. Then the events are piped into M365, like they're not hidden from M365. Then if your main portal is MDC, no, you don't have a reason to go to M365. If your main portal, or there are some other personas in your organization that look into M365, I would like to see the insights from cloud hosted servers, then they can see there. Hope I answered the question.
Great, thank you. Next one is, what happens if a server is ARC enabled but is not using MDE, i.e. using Sentinel-1?
If it's ARC enabled but not using MDE, then you will have some capabilities, some assessments, but you will not get events that are generated by MDE. And obviously you will need to work with two portals, to see what's happening from Sentinel-1 perspective in their portal, and to look for vulnerability management. Depends on if you enable Qualys, and look for some capabilities inside MDC. Then it's possible, but not, let's say, not most optimized way to work.
Great. The next one is, how can we have a full security posture for all our clients and servers, computers on-prem and on multi-cloud environment?
So when you onboard, the best way, if you want to see, security posture across all of your environments, is to go and onboard the highest hierarchy for AWS and GCP. It will ensure that all accounts and projects, existing accounts and projects, are onboarded, and all the new stuff is going to be auto-onboarded there. For on-prem, you will need to deal with deployment of ARC on all your on-prem assets. We are looking into a bit easier way for onboarding on-prem at scale. It's something under NDA. Then if there are customers that look for more robust, let's say, on-prem coverage, I would love to have an offline chat with these customers. Please put your contacts and in the chat, and we can have a separate conversation on how we can, you can join the coming preview on easier onboarding on-prem at scale.
Great. And the last question we have is, if the requirement is to uninstall third-party AV and provide complete secure environment with Microsoft antivirus and anti-malware solution on both servers and workstations, Which solution is worthy, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or Microsoft Defender for Cloud?
The Microsoft Defender for Cloud, if we talk about servers, Microsoft Defender for Cloud includes MDE. Then you're just getting things on top of MDE when Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, when you enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Then if the question is about your server's deployments, definitely Defender for Cloud, because it includes everything that you get from MDE, plus additional capabilities for that you will get in MDC.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank you, Denis, for being our guest today and for an excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer questions. At the same time, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/securitycommunity. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute submitting your webinar feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.